Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, 4 p.m. This special meeting of the Board of Commissioners is called to order. City Clerk, will you call the roll? Here.
Vice Mayor Price. Here. Here.
Here. Here.
First on the agenda is public comment. If there's anyone that would like to come up and make a public comment, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to speak, and that will be on anything that is not on the agenda.
My name is Jean Farnan. I'm at 574 Johns Pass Avenue. And my question is to the city clerk. Prior to September 8th, people were able to submit comments electronically on the web portal, and it said you were limited to 400 words. Well, it would cut you off before 400 words, and then the comments were not even read. So and this is prior to September 8th. So I just would like the city clerk to maybe explain that to me.
We got a new microphone. Yes, when the comments would come in, they would be given to the city manager to read. And there were at some point that the commission had changed it not to read them. So all the public comments that when they come in, did you put it through the public comment portal?
I did, and I also emailed it to you and to the city manager.
Okay, because they would have been turned in to be read at the meeting. I'm just sorry it didn't get read, if it didn't get read.
And I'm not the only person this has happened to. Yeah. So so basically someone along the line changed the policy without letting the public know?
It was a decision, I believe, it was made in the meeting, correct?
We don't normally answer questions, but that policy was in effect during the COVID emergency. Once that COVID emergency was canceled, we stopped doing that, as did most all governments.
But why does on the city website it says effective September 8th?
Then someone dropped the ball maybe and didn't change it.
And then the portal is still up there. And
well, we get the emails.
Yeah.
We get your emails we read them. They're just not read out loud. So I mean, I get emails from citizens in my box.
If we read every email, we would.
No, this was for public comment.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying though is, if we read every one, we would have sometimes 100 of them up here to read.
But wouldn't the public be informed that it would no longer be able to submit these? Because, and here's another situation: is the portal on the for public meetings and agenda says 400 words. The portal on the clerk's under her deal says 1,500 characters. So there is some inconsistency, and it just seems like that's not public input and transparency to me.
Well, we do get copies of it, and we read them. Thank you. Next on the agenda is city manager position discussion. As y'all are aware, Mr. Staub turned the position down after it was offered to him, and for personal reasons. I think he had told me that if his wife wasn't happy with an area, then she was the boss, and he was going to go by her decision. So at any rate, we are back to square one. Mr. Daniels, did you want to talk to the board?
Yes, if I can, just for a few minutes. First off, before we get on to that subject, hopefully this will be the last meeting tonight that we'll be using the projector. You can see we have the big screens in, and we need some modifications to one of them, but hopefully after tonight they'll be functioning. And you have new microphones. They can set the audio on each one of the mics separately now. So anyhow, getting back to the situation at hand, I think I expressed to y'all I've been very happy with serving the residents and the commission for the 2+ years that I've been here. I appreciate that opportunity. I know we went through the process. You know, it was asked of me to submit an application. I did. I came out as your number 2 candidate overall through your scoring. I know under normal circumstances it shouldn't be an issue, but I also know that there's some divisiveness in the commission about retaining me. So I understand that. If I truly want what's best for this community, and if you make the decision that you want to open the process up again, I'm not applying. I think I've been through the process. I've done everything that you've asked of me. So it would really be counterproductive both to my staff, because they've been on this roller coaster just like everybody else has since June 30th, and to the community. So I'm telling you that ahead of time, so if that's your decision, you don't have to, have any angst over that decision. We're all adults here. We all have the best interests of this community at heart. Obviously, if your decision is that, yeah, I am the number 2 candidate who is gone through everything that you wanted, and you want to retain my services, I'm honored to be here for as long as you want me here. And in the interim, I'm here to keep the ship afloat and keep the direction that we've talked about, and I plan on doing that until you tell me that you don't need me here. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daniels. I appreciate it. With that, the floor is open amongst the commission. Any comments or input?
I'd like to say something, Mr. Mayor. I feel like, being a beach community, it's really important to have someone here who understands the Gulf of Mexico, what it can do, the problems it can cause to the city itself, and someone who's been here for as long as Mr. Daniels has. I mean, he was raised on the other coast. And I just feel like he's aware of the Gulf of Mexico and what it can do. To me, that's very important. To bring someone in from another state, I feel it'd be really out of place, because they don't know what it's like in a beach community unless they've actually lived in one. So to me, it's very important that when we do this, we look at it with the fact that the person coming in knows the area, knows the water system, and understands the features that it can cause. My personal comment would be that I feel Mr. Daniels has done a good job. I have no problems with him. So that would be my choice.
Well, if I may?
Yes, please.
It's not in the best interest of Madeira Beach to accept a city manager just because he's the last man standing. I didn't care for it when the previous commission did that, and I don't think we should do that again. And I did find out something since we first advertised for a new city manager here in Madeira Beach. 2 different local city manager candidates told me of an unwritten rule that city manager candidates do not apply if there is a sitting city manager already in place. It's a professional courtesy thing that they do between each other. And with Mr. Daniels currently holding that spot, others with the local knowledge that we are seeking, they just don't apply. So I don't think Madeira Beach is getting the Florida or local field of candidates that it could. I mean, Mr. Daniels did make my top 5 list. I mean, that's no secret. And I'm inclined to get a different city manager in here. I appreciate all Bob's work. He's done as good as he could. I didn't agree with everything, as he knows, but frankly, I'm ready to make a motion that we give Mr. Daniels his 40 days notice to work out the remainder of his contract and for the city to renew its search for a different city manager. Over.
Any other comments amongst the commission? Is there any public comment on this?
Well, I'm Jean Farnan, 574 Johns Pass Avenue. I've been a resident here for over 30 years, and I have seen the city managers that we have had not in particularly this building, but under our auspices. And I can tell you, Mr. Daniels, I ended up having to contact him. There was a problem, and I was blown away by the professionalism. I had never, ever seen that here in this city. And there are many other residents that can't come to a meeting today during this time that he's really busted his butt and gone all out. And the professionalism, I thought I was in a different city. I've been through Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Madden, and I did like Jill Silverborg, and Mike, what was it, Bonfield? But I really am kind of blown away how badly you have treated Mr. Daniels. Mr. Andrews, I tried to find out what his inclination was to want to search for another city manager. I don't know what the staff's input is, but the professionalism was great. And I can only say that if he has the intestinal fortitude to put up with this commission as it sits right now, I think we should retain him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Farnham, can I ask you a question real quick? I'm seeing in your letter here that, Ms. Farnham, can you come back up?
I don't have to answer questions.
Oh, okay. You know what, I'll just make a comment then. In your email that you sent, that it wasn't read aloud, but you stated that I do not know the details of alleged accusation of Andrews for sexual harassment and stalking, but it seems Andrews should be grateful the investigation exonerated him. How'd you know what the charges were?
You said them.
I did not say sexual harassment and stalking.
You did it.
I'm pretty sure I didn't use that word, but that's okay. I was just curious because that's supposed to be a sealed file, but I'm glad that it's open to the public. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Anita Roberts. I'm at 359 Medallion Boulevard. I just want to say to this commission, I've been in customer service for 45 years, and I can't tell you the professionalism that I have seen with Mr. Daniels. I feel you people are not being fair enough, not all of you, but I don't think you're looking at the whole picture. This city needs a manager that can handle things. He's been working here for 2 years, and in the 2 years, he had to deal with certain things that were just snowballing here for many years. And he's done that more so, and I've seen it because I'm a volunteer here. So I see him in action, and every time I've given him a message for somebody who calls and wants to talk to him, he's always been on top of everything. And you don't get that with too many people. You know, and I understand everybody is busy, but you have to look at the whole picture. You're working for the city, and you should be thinking how important this city is to you all. And he wants to do a good job. What is wrong with that? And you people just want to slam him down, and it's not fair. Think about the positions you're in. You're working for the city, and you want the city to be the best. Don't we want somebody that's going to be able? His background alone speaks for itself. And you've had 5 people that you've interviewed, and where did that take you? They didn't want the job. So you're going to go out there and look for another person that's not experienced enough? This is wrong. Think over what you're doing. Do it for your city, not for something that you have something against the man. You know what? We all have problems and we all don't get along with people. But you know what? You've got to put that blind down and you've got to do the job that's best for the city that you're working for. And do the best you can. And think about that when you make a decision on what he's a wonderful man. And I don't understand why you wouldn't hire him back. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
May I? Just a couple things. I've never heard of the unwritten rule that you mentioned until I heard from a developer over the weekend mention the same thing to me. So that's never been the case, but I understand. I'm not arguing. My suggestion to y'all, if you decide that that's what you want to do, is go out and do another search. Whether I'm here or not, that's totally your decision. But I think you need to look at either having a search firm come in and do a proper search. You're probably going to have to put some distance between this search and the next one, and then keep in mind you're going to be running into the holidays. But you have to give it at least 6 to 8 weeks of notification out there, developing a professional profile sheet showing the characteristics of the person that you want, the profile of this community, some history of this community. I can provide you examples, or Sean can provide you some examples if that's what you choose to do. Also, letting them know what your process is ahead of time. So when they look at this, they know the whole picture, that their application's due in by this date. On this date, you're going to trim it down to semifinalists, and you can do your meetings through Zoom on the semifinalists if that's what you choose to do. But then your semifinalists, and then when you come up with your list of finalists, keep it a reasonable amount. But I really think you need to interview them face to face. What happens is the candidates come in, they get an idea of what you're looking for through the process, and now they want to come in. It's got to be a win-win. They have to like the community. You're going to run into the same thing with the spouses of the individuals, if they have a spouse or a significant other. And I made that mistake once before. And you have to make sure that you have buy-in with your spouse or your family, and making sure that you're doing the right thing from the manager's perspective. So that gives them an opportunity to come in. You can do your interviews in a day, and then that night maybe host some type of a meet and greet. So if you have 2 or 3 finalists that are in, they have an opportunity to meet the community. I think the community, needs to give you feedback. And then the next day you can sit down and decide who you want to choose, why the candidates are still here. And then you can sit down and negotiate whatever you need to negotiate with either the mayor or the city attorney, doing that for you. But I think if you come up with an approach like that, and you're up front, work everything out, and and if it ends up being too many pieces, just hiring a search firm. I know we talked about the dollars that you want to spend to get a quality person here, and I think it's money well spent if you look that way. So either way, I'm more than willing to come up with some examples for y'all if that's what you choose. But I just want to see you succeed, and I think that's very important.
Bob, we did all that except we did do Zoom meetings on the final 5, but 3 of them came in anyway, right? So maybe we do bring them in, but we did everything you just talked about.
I don't
other
think
than a meet and greet with the whole community.
Yeah. And I don't think we did the profile sheet at the beginning.
Yeah, we gave a history. We sat here and approved it of what our RFP.
Again, I was out of the process. I mean, I didn't get involved.
Yeah, well,
so
you're making it out like we didn't.
No, believe me, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just.
We did this.
Believe me, I'm just trying to help. I'm not trying to find fault.
And I will say, our applicants were members of the ICMA. Once that position was posted, anybody had a right to talk to us at that point. To say that they couldn't talk because Mr. Daniels was still the city manager is absolute nonsense.
Well, I'm just saying it was told to me that
you were told
it's kind of an unwritten rule. It was by somebody who may want the job.
The 28 other candidates were able to talk. We didn't talk to all of them. We went through a lot.
I'm
but the
talking
last
local.
But the last 7, that is not any kind of rule with the ICMA, to my knowledge.
No. That's why I said it was an unwritten rule,
So,
kind of a professional courtesy.
Yeah, we can't totally disregard it. I mean, if you think about it, the one thing that upset me about, I thought we had some great candidates, to be honest with you. I didn't think the candidates were poor at all. But the one constant amongst the candidates that we got, there was no local candidates at all. I mean, we're not even talking about a rec director that's been somewhere for 10 years waiting to make a move up, or a finance director from another city. We got no local candidates. So we can just brush this aside and say there was nothing to it, or we can look at the fact that most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, when city managers leave a job, they're either fired, they retired, or they resign. They don't run to the end of their contract, and then we weren't left with a big window because the contract wasn't bought up 4 or 5 months prior to the end of the contract. It was bought up by me 2 months before the end of the contract, and then we had to we wasted 3 weeks, and then we scurried around, and we didn't and no disrespect, Bob, I think we can handle it from this, and I appreciate your input, but I think we can handle any search that we're going to do. And I think we just have to come to the conclusion, and I don't want to say I said this before, but I did say it before. We need to distance ourselves from a former city manager that would be, and I appreciate Bob saying he's not going to apply. We need to, if we're going to do this, and we're going to do a proper search, we need, maybe it is a fallacy, John, and maybe you're right, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, maybe you're right, but I want to see what happens when we don't have somebody sitting in the wings waiting to happen. We could do a postmortem on our process. I'm sure we didn't do everything right. I'm sure we had probably a little too much input from people within the organization that report to Bob. But that's bygones. Let's push forward. And I agree with all the people out here. Let's try to do what's best for the city and try to push forward. But we can't negate the things. I mean, the bottom line is we need leadership. We need people that can push forward. We need direction. This city has struggled mightily since, and people have all their different opinions on Crawford, and guess what? So do I. I love the guy, but I have my different opinions on him as well. But since then, think about it. This staff has gone, we have lost every director except for one. We've had a complete turnover on staff, and we're still now paying 36% more than we were 5 years ago. Normally, you have to pay more when you have an seasoned staff, not when you got new people in roles. So, we got a lot of work to do, and unless I haven't really heard a compelling argument as to why we should move forward with what we got. I don't see any major accomplishments that have come out of this administration over the past two plus years. Haven't seen that. And in, being a nice guy and doing everything he tells me to do, which, by the way, is a complete charter violation, guys. Don't say that out loud again, because he doesn't do everything you tell him to do. He does everything we collectively as a group tell him to do, okay? So we got to watch that, because that's not a reason to keep somebody. If somebody wants to argue the fact or even chime into the fact that there's an accomplishment that I'm unaware of, I'd like to hear it. But just because he's a nice guy and he's kind of steadied the ship, I don't think that's enough to move forward with if we're going to do what's best, whatever he's saying is best for the city. Thank you.
Commissioner Hudson, have you got anything to add?
Yes. I think he has done a good job. We've gone through a change in the board with a new mayor, and then we've gone through COVID. There were different things that happened during his tenure that have never happened before. So I don't think that's fair to say that there wasn't a project that he pushed through, because there was no project available for him to push through, and he takes his instructions from us. So if there wasn't something that he didn't do, it's because we didn't, as a group, tell him that that's what we wanted to have done. So I think just for continuity, for the sake of staff, it would be very nice if he would stay.
Is that it from the commission?
I'll make a motion to give Mr. Daniels his 40 days notice to work out the remainder of his agreement and for the city to renew its search for a different city manager.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
No.
Commissioner Hudson,
No.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 3-2.
Having no more business, this meeting is adjourned at 4:26.